pleasure to welcome to the show 16-year-old goalie Jimmy Caputo, heading into your junior year. Yeah, welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I always like to start with hearing the story of the very first time that you jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
I do. So it was during a practice. My friend who played goalie, he got hit with a ball and then sat out and just basically gave up the position. And as most goalies are at the age, they're a little bit more athletic than the other kids that play like attack and defense and midfield. So, they thought, let's stick Jimmy in. So they stuck me in and we played our first game the day after. And I just really enjoyed it. I started, training for it. And I really enjoyed, just being in that cage and making a big difference to a team.
What do you think it was about the position that you enjoyed so much?
Probably at that age, it was probably that I didn't have to run as much as the other kids.
Yeah.
But now it's just the surrounding volume you hear from people in the crowd when you're playing school games, the people in the field when you make a save, the coaches, it's all it all makes you really happy. It gets you going.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the aspect that you don't have to run as much.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running that goes on. And I remember when I first started playing midi, a couple practices, at least for a week, it was feeling like I'm going to throw up, I'm running that much. And then I switched over to goalie and this is nice.
Yeah.
This is much more comfortable. There's still some running. You still got to be in shape, but not when they're doing the West Jenny drill and they're running up and down, a great drill, right? But as a goalie, you're just standing there making saves, so it's not as physically exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a great drill, right?
Yeah. It's a great drill. I it's always fun competition with your friends, just messing with them, making saves. Sometimes they score and go in. And I always like to have a little bit of competition. So maybe it's for running or maybe it's for extra cleanup. It's always more fun with a little bit of competition involved.
Yeah, totally. Well, if you can work competition somehow into the training, you're going to train harder. So, as a coach or as a youth, you always got to work competition into everything. It doesn't matter. Even if you're just catching cards, doing that drill or catching tennis balls, go for a certain amount and then try to set your personal best. So just always be competing.
Even just shooting with your friends, it's always fun to, talk some smack and just make it harder for yourself and for the other person. And it gets you better as well as it gets the shooter better, because when there's more competition, people are going to be shooting harder. They're going to be trying to place it more, and it's going to be more fun at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love it. What, you got some go-to smack talk lines for your friends out there?
Of course I do. I already got a warm up is probably my favorite one.
Solid.
I would say cookies a lot because it's famous. Popcorn.
Yeah. Explain to me the cookies one, because when I grew up, popcorn was kind of the one, was for the slang term for an easy shot.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I've heard cookies and I've heard muffins, and I don't know where those ones came from. Do you know?
Yeah. So cookies is if you think it's an easy enough save. Same with muffins, would be cookies, and you'll just get it out because even though it was an easy shot, you have to talk some smack, but you can't talk it to the amount where people think that that save was really hard, but you have to be I got to talk something. I got to get in their head somehow.
I know, but why is it called a cookie and not, I don't know, an orange or an apple or?
I think it came from other sports.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I would think it probably came from basketball or something.
Yeah.
Because that's where most of the things come from.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. All right. So you jump in there as a youth. They say put Jimmy in. By the way, you grew up on New York?
Long
Island.
Farmingdale, New York.
Yeah, I kind of hear it in the accent, and then you got the Goalie Corp shirt going on there. Who I know that those guys train out on Long Island. Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. Brian Volpe runs it. He's really good with it, and he puts a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah. So kind of a hotbed of lacrosse. And I was going to ask how you learned the position. Was it with Goalie Corp or how did you go about learning how to make saves?
So really what happened was I got stuck in the PAL net, and there wasn't really a goalie coach. So what me and my dad, who are really close to lacrosse, kind of started doing was, we kind of went to these things called the hub in Syosset, where it's just like they would like put you in cage for clinics and stuff. And one of the kids who worked there was Matt DeLuca.
Oh,
So
nice.
I learned a lot from him there. And it was like a big Farmingdale thing. There was a couple Farmingdale kids that worked there. Like I would always be there. I think it was like every Tuesday and Thursday for like a clinic with my good friends. And we just, we went, and like I really fell in love with it once I started talking more to like Matt DeLuca when I was training, because he had such a love for it. And I kind of took behind him and fell in love with it as well.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I was gonna say, when you messaged me on Instagram and I saw your high school jersey, the Dalers, I'm like, oh, Matt DeLuca. I remember having that conversation with him. He's like the only other goalie I know, that's at a higher level that went to that high school. So that's cool that you're able to learn from him. Are you do you play a similar style as him?
No, I do not play. I play. People like to ask me what kind of style I play. I just like to say I play my own style. Like I feel like I grew a lot in these last couple of years, so I kind of adapted to that. And I also kind of use I would say I have like decently fast hands. I have pretty fast hands, so I use that to like how I play my position, where I hold my hands on the stick and where I'm in my arc. So
yeah,
how I do it.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't imagine you'd say you'd have the same style as DeLuca. Not many people can pull that off. I mean, he's got
6'5",
6'5", 6'6", extremely wide base, tall dude. Like, I mean, if you got the height and you can do it, it's a great style to play, but not many can. So, so that's cool. So how did you develop, you mentioned you have really quick hands. Is that something that just came naturally, or have you been doing drills to develop it?
So over time, like I've been doing a lot of drills to develop it. Like I'm a big juggler. Like before everything, I will juggle. I learned how to do it this year, and now every time I practice, shoot with friends, I just juggle for a good like 10 minutes to get my hands ready. And I'm also a big fan of going off the wall juggling, because I feel like that also helped me gain so much time and so much reaction time on my hands.
Yeah, love it.
But definitely was not born with it.
Yeah. Some people are, but and just I'm a huge. I haven't juggled in like years. I should probably get it going again, because I could do it well in college, but now I haven't done it in a while. I'm probably a little rusty, but it's just great for hand-eye coordination as well. And just kind of like, getting the hands moving and getting your eyes associated to like moving and catching things. And that's what goalie's all about, right?
Yeah. Like before games and all that, like I'll just like, do it. And it's not really just because I want to get my hands faster in a sense. It's because it's really relaxing. Well, you just sit on the bench in the locker room. Everyone else is listening to music and stuff. You're just there juggling with your earbuds in your ears. It's pretty relaxing. And it gets me ready, so.
Yeah, it is. I used to carry around. In fact, I still do it. I have a ball right here on my desk, but I used to like especially on game day, I would just like carry around a ball like all day and like kind of throw it up and like, watch it against the blue sky and just like really get focused on that ball. And I find that helps quite a bit.
Another thing I like to do, like talking about the ball and seeing it, is like when I go to a field that I'm not like very familiar with, I like to, test the bounce. I get like, before I even start getting warmed up, I get my equipment on. I'm just like, hey, can you start shooting some bounce shots at me, so I can see what the ground is like and how I can react to it. And some fields are better than others with it, but I'm usually a big fan of like the lower bouncing shots, because I get my body in front of those a little better.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like even if it's a turf field, like you might think, oh, it's a turf field, you're going to get a clean hop, but there's different like elasticity of the turf. So like, I remember we played on this really old turf that was like concrete and the opposing teams always spent like the first half bouncing any bounce shot. They'd bounce it over the goal, because they didn't realize like how just like hard the bounce is going to be. So yeah, I love that, getting used to the field. And then dirt fields, totally unpredictable. So you got to kind of read the crease and get some shots. And the other thing too is just getting used to the background. And the lights in the background and like what's going to be behind you, because it can be very different.
Like with the thing with my high school and the teams that we play is that we usually play on like very similar ground, very similar background. I haven't really played on a turf. I'm a grass field in my high school career yet, because like the leagues we play in, they're all like
all turf.
They have really nice turf fields. So I'm very fortunate to have that.
Yeah. What do you prefer? Do you prefer as a goalie?
I would say turf by a lot. It's not just because of the bounce shots, it's because especially when you're clearing it, when you're breaking it out, the even field makes it easier for you to run and you can make turns easier than say you were on a grass field. You don't have to worry about divots and stuff that can maybe like, intrude your run.
Yeah. I love the turf as well. I always, especially my style, like I wasn't that Matt DeLuca where like you're like, your feet are essentially set up post to post.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to like move one way or the other. Like everything's on your frame. So you just kind of react. But I exploded through the shot. And so I just felt so quick on the AstroTurf.
I'm a big, like, I really enjoy like getting my body in front of the ball and turn shots. Like I know some goalies are bigger fans of getting their stick there. I like you were talking about how you played it. I enjoy doing the same thing. I liked getting my body in front of it. And I felt like I still do that because I don't want it to hit my stick and just go right in on a bounce shot that I know I could have saved if say I had my chest in front of it or my abdominal area in front of that. So, I just really like to be there in front of everything.
Yeah. What do you say to a goalie who is like first learning that style? How'd you go about learning? Some call it flopping. I mean, others call it like getting your body behind it. But like, what we're talking about is on a low save, like you're going down to your knees, you're going down to your butt, maybe. How would you recommend a goalie go about learning that approach?
I wouldn't really recommend teaching it to younger goalies in my case, because like as a younger goalie, you're usually just doing the basic stuff. Like you're doing the stepping to the ball with your dominant foot. You're doing getting your stick to high and lower shots. Like, I don't really think at that age you need to focus as much as like getting down the floor as much as you need to, like just step to the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the biggest flopper. Like I'll do it sometimes if I really need a desperation save, but like I'm usually there with my body instead of, like on my knees more.
Yeah. I coach the youngsters to stay on their feet. I mean, there's kind of two different ways of doing it. And, when I first tell kids to start out, I mean, I do say stay on your feet, but I think that like at a certain level, at a certain point, going down to the ground makes a lot of sense. And I was just curious, like how you went about learning that. So on every, even when you're like getting a warm up, for example, that you're doing that, you're getting your body behind it and like kind of going down to your knees.
I'm a big believer in that whatever you do, you have to do it how you would do it in the game.
Yeah.
When I go shooting, I'm in the same position I would be in a game. I'm calling out everything, alley, turn them, right foot, left foot. I don't like being lazy when I go shooting or doing stuff like that, because I know how well it translates into a game.
Yeah. That's my biggest thing with going down to your knees or flopping is that sometimes goalies like won't do that in practice. And then all of a sudden the game comes and it's like, now you're doing it. And I'm like, like if you practice like that and you train like that, and that's how you make the saves, great. But like, let's not like switch up our style just because you really want to make the save.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to do it, but anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I think that people like overlook that, like it looks like an awesome save. It does, but like there's more to it than just looking like an awesome save. Like some people will kind of like be against it because like there might be an easier way to do it, but at that time and place, your best option might be, to get your leg in front of it by being on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So you're in high school now. I guess besides Matt DeLuca, who are some of the other goalies, college or pro, that you really like to watch and have really learned something from?
Yeah, growing up, I used to love watching John Galloway at Syracuse.
Yeah.
I used to love watching him on the Rattlers and all those other teams, Chrome even recently. I'm a big Jack Kelly fan as well. I feel I loved his USA run. I actually watched the Brown versus Maryland save reel before every game, because I think that's just like, it makes me feel like, I do that too. So like, I also love his story of how he came back from the torn ACL and he's starting this year in a situation where, nothing's promised. So I feel like that's really cool.
Yeah. The quarterfinal game against Navy is even better.
I meant that one with Connors. Yeah.
Connors. Yeah. You said Maryland, but which is a great one as well. But with Connors, the quarterfinals, I think Maryland was the semis. So
Maryland was the semis, yes. And
Yeah.
I don't really watch the UNC versus Maryland one yet. I haven't really watched that one because I've been so focused on like the Navy one. I watched the Loyola versus Denver, I think it was.
Yeah.
Loyola Denver possibly with Stover, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good one. But yes, I'm a very big fan of Jack Kelly and the things he did at Brown.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I love that guy. And I had him on the podcast, and he's just like the
Yeah.
most wholesome, like awesome guy. Like he's just amazing.
Guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. West Islip or
Mhm.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
West
West
Islip. Yeah. And now whereabouts are you?
What about like what do you mean by like,
within Long Island?
Oh, I'm in Farmingdale. I'm like right in the middle, basically. Like, you know, there's two counties, Nassau and Suffolk. I'm like on the border of the two.
Got it. Very cool. So, are you looking at colleges? You know, you want to play lacrosse at the next level? Like, talk to me about your recruiting process and what you're doing to, to try and play at the next level.
I've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of tournaments, a lot of showcases. I went to a couple of prospect days just to like test myself out, put my feet in the water and see where my ceiling and my floor is. And, you know, like I've been feeling like I'm really enjoying this summer. Like I loved playing in Maryland. I loved playing in Delaware. I loved playing in Pennsylvania. Like those were all like great places to play at. And I also felt like maybe, you know, me and my team possibly got some looks from those occurrences.
Yeah. So you're heading into your junior year. Yeah. And so like, this is kind of, at the September of your junior years when the coaches can kind of reach out. So this is kind of the big moment. Did you, when you go to those prospect days, when you go to those camps, is there an extra set of nerves that you have to deal with?
I'm the type of kid where like I'm nervous way before I do it. And then when I just step on the field, I'm like, I'm not nervous at all. Like I just lose all like, as soon as I put my foot on that turf, I lose all sense of nerve. Like I'm just in my own zone. Like, and I think that's the thing with a lot of goalies. Like I know a lot of goalies play with a lot of confidence. They talk a lot of trash, you know, they'll clear far passes. They're not nervous to step on the field. And I feel like I kind of like do that as well. Like I don't really get nervous because I know that I have kids around me, a team around me that will support me, even if I'm not doing my best.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I was, it took me a save. It took me my first save to get like into the flow. And then once I got that touch, I was like, all right, I'm relaxed. I'm ready to go. I wish it wasn't the case. But that's how I was. But I think a lot of goalies, you put in all this work and like the human mind is such a fragile thing that like the day before it's like, these thoughts start creeping into your head and it's like, ignore those thoughts, like trust your training. You've done hours and you've taken thousands of shots. Like let that be the guiding force that you're feeling right now. You got this.
Yep, exactly. Because like as a player, I like when you're saying like it took you a little while to adjust to like the first shot. I get places very early because I feel like I need that time to just sit on the field, just get in my head about things and just be like, yeah, like I'm here. Why wouldn't I play my best,
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I was going to say, that's an amazing point. That's an amazing point. It's like, know yourself as a goalie. Like if you're a goalie that needs literally 500 shots to get warm, then guess what? Show up to the field 3 hours early and start taking shots. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you just need 10 to each spot. And after 50 shots, you're good to go. Great. Right. So knowing exactly what you need. And a lot of that too, just comes with experimenting, right? Like you have to try different things to know what works and you have to put yourself in those pressure packed prospect days or those big games to be able to feel that.
I'm also a bit superstitious when it comes to games. Like I was getting places earlier, settle down. Like if I need to have a snack for the game, I'll usually have like a similar snack that I feel like, helps me play better. And I'm also a big believer in like practicing before you need to get somewhere. Because like if say my coach says we need to be in the locker room for a 3:30 time and get on the bus at 4:30 for the game, I'll be there at 3:15, 3:10. It's just throwing on the wall that we have in the gym.
Yeah. What other superstitions you got?
So I'm a big clothes guy when it comes to play. I tried to wear sweatpants and I hated it, so I just cut that one out. I've found now that like I really like short sleeves and I really like low cut socks. So I think we're gonna stick with that one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Which kind of bucking the tradition. A lot of goalies these days go with the high socks and the sweats tucked in, but hey, whatever works for you, right?
Too heavy for me. It's too heavy. I sweat too much with them.
All right, fair enough.
Especially like a goalie like Ward, like you see his sweatpants and the long sleeve and like wherever they go, it's just like that guy's got to be hot.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He just has to be.
Well, he's from Canada. He's used to being cold, I guess, right?
Yeah, I love the way he plays too. I feel like he's really changing the position of goalie with his higher arc. Yeah. I feel like even though it doesn't work sometimes for him, but that's not really his fault. Sometimes it's, maybe it's a really good shot. As a goalie, you look at that and you see a success rate that he's had in the last couple of years with Team Canada, even box-wise, the Mammoth. He just won a championship this year. You look at that and you kind of think like, maybe he is changing the position because you see a goalie as good as him doing it. Maybe you're going to start to see other people, trying to take that step forward and see maybe are they going to save more shots with their body? Because that's the thing with Ward also. He makes a lot of saves with his body and he cleans up rebounds very well.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people, he also has like a unique style in the sense that like he's tall, he's real tall and he's got like, I mean, the dude just understands angles and positioning better than like anybody. And a lot of that comes from his box background. Like he played box goalie, before he played field goalie. And so it's just like understands like exactly where to be. And the fact that he's, 6'5" or whatever, if he's top center on a higher arc and they swing it to the top right, like he can just take one step. He's already there, right? So a lot of smaller goalies have to go like and like, take 3 or 4 steps to get in the right position, which is tough. But anyway, it will be interesting to see if more goalies play the higher arc.
Because like also what I found out with more taller goalies, what they do now is I feel like they stand like I feel like I don't really know who started it, but now that goalies are getting bigger and bigger in like the height category and like the arm length and leg length, we're starting to play more wider positioning.
Right.
And I feel like, especially because I hit a pretty big growth spurt in the last couple of years, like I've kind of started moving my legs out a little more because I feel like I'm in too close now because I'm not covering enough ground.
Yeah. I don't know who started either. I think that if you got the height, I think that it's where the position's going, because especially on like low angle shots, your feet are pipe to pipe and like you don't have to move and everything's on your frame. And so now like, now it's just I don't know. I think it just makes the save a lot easier. And I also think there's less movement. Like I posted, I don't know if you saw, Will Mark, he played for LIU.
Yes, I do.
Just transferred to Syracuse.
Syracuse.
Yeah. So I posted one on my Instagram where this dude runs down the alley for like 5 full steps, like full sprint. So he's moving pretty far, and Will's in his wide base and he doesn't really even move. Right. I mean, he just kind of like pivots a little bit and he's in the perfect position and he like beats the guy to the spot. So like as the shooter shoots, he's just sitting there ready and waiting. And that's half the battle for lacrosse goalies is be set still and wait for the shot, right?
Yeah, reading the shooter. Like I'm also a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of knowing people's tendencies and maybe adjusting my positioning to combat that. And I would say it works pretty well.
How do you do that as a high school goalie? How do you learn shooters' tendencies?
You play them enough to like, especially because Long Island, a lot of kids play for very similar clubs. You play them a lot. Like I play kids from all over the place, but I usually play Long Island kids. And say we play our rivals, which we do a lot. I don't know if you know the Farmingdale HS rivalry. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Heard of it. Yeah.
Yep. It's huge. And actually that was the first game I started in this year because our senior goalie, who's one of my closest friends, he broke his thumb. He was committed D1 to St. John's. And he's going up there this summer and he's tearing it up there, I'm hearing. So I'm very happy for him. So, and back to the tendency things. I know a lot of those kids. Like I play travel with them all the time, like, especially when you play so close to people, like you live near. You understand. Like I know when the kid's gonna shoot low just by knowing where his angle of the stick is.
Yeah, yeah. I played in the MCLA and we didn't have like much scouting, and it wasn't like I'd played like you. I hadn't played with these guys for years and years and a bunch of games. So a lot of it is just knowing shooters' general tendencies as well. Like knowing. Based on the angle of their stick, based on what's happening, like, oh, he's probably going to try and pull that one low and away. So, that's what I'm looking for. Not that I'm guessing, right? But you're kind of anticipating.
Yeah, in the MCLA, was there like a lot of competition for you guys at the time?
Tons. Yeah, it's very competitive.
Mhm.
It's very
Because now you
competitive.
see it. Yeah, now you see it. It's like kids that don't like really want to play Division 1, but really want to keep playing lacrosse. You could see like these club teams are incredible. Like some of
Yeah.
them could really compete.
Oh yeah, I mean, we had guys on our team that could play D1 easily.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think the difference is like the second line of middies and
Yep.
like the third line of middies is like the drop off is just insane, right? Like the first line's probably, a couple guys on there could play D1, and then, when you get down to the third line, it's like athletic dudes who are
Yeah.
learning how to play lacrosse.
Mhm.
So,
Say you did it over again, would you stick with the choice you made?
good question. Good question. Yeah, I had an incredible experience. So I don't think I would change anything. I wouldn't change anything. I still have 4 years of D1 eligibility, but I'm 41 now. But
Hey,
I
listen,
didn't
maybe
play
there's a
lacrosse
team.
in high school. So like going
Mhm.
back and saying, trying to go out for it, wasn't even really an option. I had a tremendous experience. Wouldn't change it.
Mhm. Because that's what I feel like that's a problem with like kids now. Like maybe they're looking at a school and they're not sure if they really want to do that yet. But like over time, you start to talk to people that went there, you start to see alumni, and you just get that feeling, and you're like, yeah, maybe I do want to go here. Like
Mm.
I feel like that's a problem with kids today because like I feel like not everyone's really sure what they want to do.
Well, no one's sure what they want to do, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're
true.
making like a big decision, and you're like, 16 years old or
16,
17 years
17,
old. And like
yeah.
I went through that myself, where I'm like, I don't know where I want to go to school. Like I went to Cal, right? So I was really close to
Mhm.
committing to UCLA. I had like before the acceptance things came out, I wanted to go to Stanford, and I ended up not
Mhm.
getting in there. And it all worked out. Like, I don't think I ended up visiting buddies at Stanford. I don't think I would have liked it. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of LA, the city of LA. I don't know if
Yeah.
I would have liked it. Anyway, it ended up working out for me. So not many people know, but what they want to do, but just know that like things are going to work out. That's my belief.
I agree.
Yeah. But you got to do your due diligence, right? You got to, do they
Yep.
have the program that you want? I talked to, I just released my podcast with Blake Ulmer, D2 goalie.
Yeah.
He's a dude from Florida, right?
Tampa.
He,
Yeah.
yeah, Tampa. He gets accepted to Syracuse, goes to Syracuse, cloudy. He's like, where's the sun?
Yeah.
Guess what? Like that could be a real impact on your mental health if you're used to
Mhm.
this Florida sunshine and the beach and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and then you got to go in the snow. So anyway, just things to consider, and do your homework, and don't fall in love with the program just because it's Syracuse,
Mhm.
right? There's a lot of other stuff going on there. And football games. Do you want football games? One of my best experiences are those Saturday game days at
Yep.
Cal. With the buddies and just going out. So, do you want that? It tons of stuff
Listen,
to consider.
yeah, it's not a bad thing at all. It's a plus, obviously. Like, who doesn't want to be at a school who plays football and all that? But like, if there was a
Right.
school to offer me that I really enjoyed, that like didn't have a football team, it wouldn't change my decision. No.
Perfect. Where are you looking at? Where
I'm keeping my
would you like to
options
go?
open. Yeah, I'm keeping my options open right now. I'm not really 100% sure yet, but we shall see.
Okay. Well, keep me posted, man. Let me know.
I will. I will definitely. Yeah.
Let me know. I'm also getting some relationships with coaches too. Like that's kind of I mean, I'm gonna have Coach Tierney on the podcast pretty soon. I'm looking forward to that one so much. Coach Bill Tierney. That should be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, cool. Let's get back to you and your story. What what is there anything in your goalie game right now that you feel like this is an area where I really need to get better?
Yes, I think my clearing, because like in cage, I feel like, yeah, like if you compare goalies, the turning point, like what really makes one better than the other, I feel like is clearing.
Mm-hmm.
A school wants you to go like 80% clearing. Like that's something I would love to work on, and maybe go higher than expected and maybe become like a 90% plus a game clear.
Love it. What do you do to work on clearing? Is it just stick work, dodges?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. By clearing, usually I mean like just IQ of the game, because like
Mm-hmm.
as a player, like I think I could clear pretty well, but like there's always that little bit of improvement you really want to make. And that's the one thing I will say. The coaches of Farmingdale do an incredible job with that. When I was stuck into the position this year, I was like when I had to start mid-year, they were all like, even the kids that were on the team, they would all help explain and like, really teach me what the clear was. And like over time, of course, I started getting it. We started clearing at a really high rate.
Yeah.
But there's some way, in some ways, I would love to clear hard, and I usually did.
Yeah. I usually like a lot of goalies have that problem, especially young goalies, because there's a lot going on, and kind of like you mentioned, a lot of goalies just focus on making the saves at first, and so it's kind of a part of the game that you don't pay a lot of attention to, but it is very important. So yeah, you got to learn like let's call it like the theory of clearing, like kind of what your looks should be once you make the save. And I wrote a cool blog post on that goes into it.
Yeah.
I should do a video on that, by the way.
You should,
maybe I'll put that on the list.
I'm a big fan of clearing off a save, because I feel like that's when I could really push a transition.
Yeah.
Like in the clearing game, I struggle with, like the slow clear, because like as a goalie, I'm a very hyperactive goalie that likes to make big saves and likes to push transition and score goals for our offense. So like sometimes like I'll try to rush things, but like over time, like when I was in that situation, I was kind of like calm myself down. And I started getting much better at, slow clearing instead of just trying to push the furthest thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, like, for example, the theory, your first look is exactly where the shot came from, right? Because most of the times what's happened, the attacker or the midi has sort of beat your attackman, your defender's behind him, you make the save, and the attacker's just sitting there looking at you, right? And all the guy has to do is break out.
Yeah.
So just kind of knowing that, right? Like knowing that's my first look, you can get so many fast breaks or easy clears that way. So that's, that's what I mean by the theory. And then, the more comfortable you get with your stick, dodging and being able to make all the throws, right? I mean, just when you talk about a slow clear, you're just going to add a whole nother level of confidence in your game. Cause like, even if somebody's on you, I can do a quick little face dodge, buy myself some time and lead the clear. So
yeah, especially with the sticks we have today. Like I get my stick strung by a guy, Mr. Wonderful, of course.
The Wonderful, like, Tommy Bruno, big shout out, man. Big shout out.
He's the best. Yeah, me and my whole family, both me and my sister have at least 2. I have like 6 sticks strung by him because I love them so much. Like it's like, especially with the technology we have today and the way he strings it, I feel like a goalie could dodge better than they used to. They could, pull off. They're like stuck in like traffic. They could make a dodge much easier than they could have in the past. They could get passes out quicker with more speed on them. So I feel like that also affects the clearing game, how well your stick is strung. And that's what I like to tell younger kids, because like a lot of them are like, I can't clear the ball fast. Like when I throw it like this, the ball goes higher in the air. And that's what I usually say. Maybe it's because you need to get your stick strung better.
Yeah.
And they start understanding, because like in this day and age, goalie stringing is very important.
Right.
Some guys that string short sticks can't string a goalie stick, say, as well as Tommy Bruno can.
No, nobody can string a goalie stick as well as the Wonderful. Come on.
Yep, exactly.
This one right here over my shoulder is strung by him.
Is that the Gate Web? Or
it's a
the Warrior stick.
It's a Warrior Big Nasty.
Yep.
Came out in like 2000 or 2001, and it's got the little flaps.
Yep. Is that the CL18 on the right?
And this is the CL18 over here. Yeah.
I have one for myself, actually. I do.
You do? Have you used it?
One thing I will say is that was the year that COVID hit.
Yeah.
And I just finished with fall ball, so I really never had a chance to use it. But like, of course, I use it in the backyard with my friends and stuff. Like, the one thing I would say about it is that I like the idea. I think it's a great idea, but I just think there might be better ways to like, finish it off, because like I think the head's just a little heavy. And
it's really heavy.
Yes, I'm seeing they're making a new one, and I'm kind of like looking at it, and I'm like, maybe that's not that bad of an idea, because like also another problem I thought with it was his throat. The throat is so like wide.
Bulky.
Like,
super bulky and wide.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the exact feedback I gave to Coach Sash from Deep South. Based on what
guys down there.
Yeah, based on what I'm hearing from the goalie community. So yeah, I'm excited for the next round of that one too.
Yep. Continuing on the head. Oh, sorry. Continuing on the heads. Continuing on the heads. I used to be a really big Eclipse 2 guy, and I still am, but like I purchased an Impact a month or two ago, and I just started using it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm liking the things that Andrew Goalie Smith is doing. I'm like what Mike is doing with it. I think they made a really good head.
Yeah. I just,
East Coast guys.
I reviewed it. We did,
Yep.
Evan did a video with Drake. You
Yeah.
can check that out. It's awesome. It's an awesome review. What
Mhm.
do you like about it? What do you like about the impact?
So when you look at an eclipse, the one thing that really I didn't like about it was it's kind of like faced backwards in a way.
Yeah.
And like when you hold the impact, it just goes straight. And also I like it's very stiff going up and down, but there's a little bit of flex from the side. So say if you do need to make a save like the side of your stick, you don't have to really worry about it going in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love it. Yeah, I haven't played with the impact all that much, but I've heard that similar feedback. So I look forward to getting out there. 2022 is the year of the goalie head.
It is. I just saw Dobson. Yeah, I just saw Dobson was using that new Warrior one. It looks pretty nice. It does.
Yeah, it's called the QS. So Warrior QS. I think they're going to release that one in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I think the CL18, the next version is going to be next year, so that won't be this year. But I heard Gate was working on a.
I saw Gate. Yeah, I saw an STX prototype somewhere, and I looked at it and I was like, this does not look like the Eclipse 2, so it definitely could be.
Somebody, one goalie sent me like a picture, a DM, and he's like, an STX rep, let us play with the 3. And I don't think they're calling it that. But then I went on, for some reason, I was looking on like the list of approved goalie heads, and I saw this like STX, oh man, what was it called? It was called like the STX Spider or something like that. Hold on, let me see. I have it here in the messages because I sent it to to a buddy of mine. So it's called the Shadow, the STX.
Oh
Shadow.
No, that definitely is new because they just released a shaft line. I feel like there's like a shaft called the STX Shadow. I can swear that one.
So that's an approved goalie head. So I'm pretty sure that's the STX Eclipse 3, the next version, which will be interesting to see what, the Eclipse 2, like it's such a great head, but how do you, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get rid of that like backward can't, because that's kind of like their style, but we'll see. We will see.
I love the Eclipse 2. It just like switching to the impact. I felt like it gave me much more of like a stiff effect. Like when I used to save shots with the Eclipse 2, it bends a little more than the Eclipse. And that's the other thing I was going to get to. Like when I would save a high shot, the stick would kind of bend back like this when it hit the head. Yeah. With the impact, it's a little straighter and a little stiffer. And that's kind of what I needed as a goalie, because I make a lot of like inside saves where, I don't get my full head on it, but I get just a top piece. Yep. Yeah, totally. Did you mention you got a family of goalies over there? I do. Your sister a goalie as well? My sister is probably better than I am. She's incredible. Yeah, she's going into 8th grade. She plays for like the 7th best team in the country. She's doing great. Awesome. All right. And and so what happened was she just broke her thumb like a couple weeks ago, and me and my sister went to this guy up in Suffolk County. His name is Evan Lundeen. He's a great doctor, and what he does is he makes these splints. And we both got one, and I just wanted to mention him on it because I got hit in the thumb yesterday when we were shooting. And like, I honestly think if I didn't have that on, it would have broken my thumb, because it's so well made and it's so well thought out that like I suggest like a lot of kids that are like, if they ever ask me, what can I do to prevent injury? I would say I would give them the card, give them the number. This guy is doing something for the goalie community that we really needed, and I feel like we need to get it out a little more. Great point. I've spoken with Evan. I chatted with him on the phone about it. Yeah, he's a great guy. And just to recap, he makes these custom thumb splints. They are custom. So like unfortunately you do need to be like, go visit him. And he like, No, you don't. No, he does mail orders now. He has mail orders now. Okay. All right. Fair enough. It seems like a pretty complicated process, but like he's a very big piece of the goalie community. He works with, I don't know if you know Chris Gill, Crease Beast Lacrosse. Another incredible, look him up. He's an incredible trainer, incredible guy. He's actually the guy I worked with before Volpe, and he's just a great coach, a great person to be around. He's what kind of broke the confidence into me, because like he's such a great talker. Like he really gets you going. Like what kind of stuff does he say? How does it work? He'll never be afraid to tell you what you did wrong. And that's what really helped me develop and helped me gain confidence with things I was doing right. And then over time, what he did is he would always work on the things you were doing wrong. So me and him worked a lot on clearing and a lot of stepping to the ball when I was younger during the quarantine time. And that's kind of an area, like the stepping to the ball is something I would say I'm pretty good at, because I'm a lot more explosive than I used to be. And I'm a lot more longer arms and legs.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's definitely a reason why I developed. Definitely.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I think one thing goalies don't do enough is just really pound those weaknesses, right? Cause like, let's say you don't like bounce shots. A lot of times, like when it's time to take bounce shots, you're like, oh man, I hate bounce shots. And you don't do it. You don't do it. Right. When in reality, you need to work those twice as much or 3 times as much so that it becomes a strength. So you just constantly turning your weakness into a strength, and then just keep getting better and better.
As a younger goalie, like when I was younger, my weaknesses primarily came from my fear of the ball. And that's what I think of coaches are doing a lot better job teaching of now. Because like back then, I didn't really like know much about the goalie world. But now, like in 2022, you got Lax Goalie Rat, you got Goalie Smith, you got Goalie Corp, you got Priest Beast, you got a bunch of great people all around the country that go tour and stuff. And they really teach it well. They really teach it well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for throwing me in there. I appreciate it. Yeah. And there's a lot more resources certainly now than when I was learning the position. And you're right. Like when I was learning, it was like the coaches would just fire lacrosse balls at you. Right. Like I think there was no that's the way it was. Right. And if you're going to be a goalie, you gotta be tough. And I kind of agree with that to a certain extent, but at the same time, let's not be stupid about it. Right.
Exactly.
Like if you're just taking shots on a young goalie and you can use tennis balls, like why not?
I do. That's what I do. Not? And usually actually, I don't really focus as much as shots as I do. Like, I don't know if you know the drill when it's like just the shaft. I kind of learned this from another goalie program that's really good out here in Long Island, Breakout. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Oh, of course.
Soper. Yeah. So I learned it, and I kind of like used it in my game too, because I was like, you know what, maybe this isn't a bad idea. It's a really short shaft with a short stick head on it. And I'm pretty sure you just put your top hand on it, and you just go with your top hand.
Oh, nice.
And it's something I really enjoy teaching younger kids, because like top hand explosion is one of, but if not the most important thing a goalie can do.
Yeah. It's debatable. The bottom hand, super important. First step, super important. But yeah, I mean, getting that top hand there, I think if you do nothing else, like you can make the save sometimes just with your top hand. But yeah, I've had Brian has presented at the goalie summits a bunch of times. Great guy.
He's a great guy. Awesome. Great guy. They're all awesome there at Breakout. Him and Coach Hungerford, all the shooters there, they're all great people.
Yeah. Love
you
it.
Do a very good job teaching young goalies, and even goalies my age do a very great job with that.
Yeah, love it. Jimmy, have you ever gone through a slump? And if so, like how'd you get out of that?
Well, I went on a little bit of a slump this year, like in the beginning of the summer, and I was just kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I get out of it? So the one thing I really did was it took me going to the wall, just the wall, not even taking shots, and just throwing for hours at a time. Because like at that, you kind of get like a peaceful, like you don't really think of anything. You're just throwing a ball on the wall, switching hands, throwing a ball, maybe like juggling on the wall. You're kind of just like, maybe this is what I need. Maybe it's my mental weaknesses that are causing me to have a slump. Maybe it's not my physical. And that's why I think a lot of goalies should do more of that stuff, because sometimes being in a slump is not even close to being physical. It's mostly mental.
Yeah. I think a good 99% of the time it's mental. Because you just start getting in your own head. And a lot of times too, what I tell goalies is like, if you have a bad game, or you gotta get back out there. You gotta get back out there. Just go hit the wall, right? Because then what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about that bad game and all those bad goals you let in. You're just kind of zoning. You're just kind of in the zone. And if you have a memory, it's you hitting the wall for the last hour, right?
Put in your headphones, put on a long playlist, throw on that wall. And another thing I really like to do is I really, really, really like to practice with like my friends when I'm in a slump. Even just going in the backyard and throwing with my sister, like that kind of like, it also calms you down. Like even just going to the pulse and just like not even playing, maybe just playing like a hand game, like spike ball. that's also really another good way to get your mind off the slump and just going and having fun with friends, maybe doing things that benefit or don't have any effect, but playing a game like spike ball or just having like a football catch at the park, that really takes your mind off of, maybe, oh, I played a bad game. Well, while you're doing this now, you got to keep your mind off of it.
Yeah. 100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah. Just go out there, have fun in anything. Spike ball, surfing, football, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
The beach.
Yeah.
That's it.
Beach. Yeah. There you go. Well, cool. So I think you mentioned you took over the starting role like mid-season.
I did.
Tell me about that story. How did that come to be?
So we were playing a team in our league, Oceanside. And what happened was my friend, you probably know him. I don't know if I should mention him, but he's very good. Danny Seaman. He's one of my closest friends, and he's 2 years older than me. And so what happened was we were winning 5-0. He gets hit with a shot in his hand, and 2 metacarpals broke.
Oof.
And he stayed in the whole game and actually got his first career shutout whole game.
In that game. Wow. In
that game. And so Danny Seaman takes me home from basically everything, like lacrosse wise. So we were in the car and he just talks to me. He's like, yeah, I think you might have to start from now. And I'm like, why? What happened? He's like, I think I broke my hand. And I was like, took me. It took me a minute to realize. Because I always just thought, yeah, I'm gonna be that guy, the practice guy, the one that everyone, uses for scout. But it kind of just hit me. And I couldn't talk for a minute because I was I was kind of taken back by it. I never expected that to happen.
Right.
You never expect it.
Well, that speaks to the importance of being prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you never expect it, but as a lacrosse goalie, you're at all times, you're one shot away from going from backup to starter. And now the metacarpal is like this outer bone. Yeah.
So how did that work? How did that work? What do you mean?
I'm saying Evan's splints wouldn't have helped him in that case because his splints are would have. Go ahead.
Because what it does actually is it's not just here. It goes from about your whole hand length.
Wow.
It doesn't cover your whole hand. It just covers that area. If he had that on, I think that would have protected him.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So you get in there and then what was that like your very first start?
All right. Let's say my very first start was against the biggest rivalry on the island. It was against us versus Massapequa, right? And I'm in the locker room by myself. I got there. The game was starting. It was a Saturday game. So because you can't have the game on Friday night because you just can't. A game like Farmingdale, Massapequa, any big rivalry. So I was just we were supposed to get there 11-ish, 10, I think it was. I was there at 8:30. I was just sitting there. I was there for an hour by myself. I was just sitting there. I didn't even juggle or anything. I was just sitting and listening to music.
Yeah.
Just in my locker, just looking around, just walking, because that's what kind of calms me down and makes me feel at peace. Just being able to do that type of stuff.
Yeah. Love it. Know yourself. And what was the result of that game?
We lost by 1, but it was my first ever start. And I'm going to say that from that game, I learned so much about what high school lacrosse is all about.
Love it.
Next game, we played the team that beat us in the finals last year in the championship. It was Syosset. We won 9-8 and I had 15 saves and a save at the last second to win us the game. My man,
and your second ever save start.
Yeah, I came in at a pretty good time because that's when it really mattered. And as time went on, we played Port Washington twice. One game was, I played very well, and this was before the playoffs. It was to determine a seed. We lost by 1 again. There were all 1-goal games in our league between every team. And we lost by 1. We went back in the locker room. Our coach talked to us. And from that moment on, I kind of just understood lacrosse more. It's not physical as much as it was mental. That's when it hit me. Because as a team, we were a little scared at the last couple minutes. And then I feel from that game, we learned a lot as a team. Sadly, it had to end early though, because, the next game obviously was a pretty easy game for us. And I'm not going to lie about that. But then the next game was the playoffs. It was 6:00 at Hofstra. So you know how crazy that was stepping on the field for the first time as a starting goalie on there. it was just like sweat was dripping everywhere. There's so many fans in the crowd. It's just like, oh, they're all wearing green and white or backup jerseys. And it's just like, we're like, as a team, like there's a couple of rising juniors that started last year. It was me and my two close friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we just stood there like alone because like we just wanted to soak it all in and we wanted to do our best.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing experience playing on the big stage. And yeah, I mean, now you're more used to it now, right? I mean, now as you go in this year, like you've got that under your belt. And the other thing that you mentioned there that I really like and I want to touch on is like a lot of times being a leader of the team is just kind of like feeling, is kind of like just knowing the team. Like you said, like our team kind of went down at the end, right? And just kind of knowing that, right? And just, being that team leader that like lifts the team up or recognizes that and calls it out. So in a team huddle, so that like you don't go down that path. And I think when we talk about, being a team leader, like a lot, that's a big component of it. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. But the thing was the goalie that got hurt, Danny, was probably the best leader I've ever seen. Like he would control everything. So I would like to give credit to like my team in that point, because when I came in, I was so inexperienced. I didn't really understand it. Over time, obviously, I got it. They were teaching me and nothing changed. It stayed the exact same. They played the exact same way. Mm-hmm. They were so polished as a team, and especially the starting three defense, they held it down.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember this one game against Arizona, and like our team, like we had a couple games earlier in the season where like we were up by like 6 goals and like the other team went on a run and we just like lost it. Like we couldn't, and we were up by 6 goals at halftime. And I remember telling the team, like, guys, like they are going to go on a run, like in the second half, they're going to go on a run. Right. But it's how we respond. Right. Let's not, like games past, let's not get all down and dejected when they get 2-3 in a row. Know that we can fight back, and we end up winning by 1.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that happened the same thing against IAFIT. We were up like 6-1 at half, and they brought it back to 6-5. And like the huddle after that was like it was just like crazy. Like no one even had to say anything to get us all going, because we just understood what was on the line.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be that last seed. We wanted to be in that conversation.
Love it, man.
So like offense started clicking, defense started clicking. We started clearing very, very well. And it also turned out that we won by 1. So,
yeah. Well, cool, man. That was fun. And if you feel like we hit on everything, or any other topics you want to throw out there?
I think that's good. I think we hit.
My man, if you had to leave the goalies out there with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
Physical strength is mental strength in the cage.
Yeah. Hit the gym, huh?
Well, hit the gym and hit the film.
There you go. Jimmy, good luck in your upcoming season. Keep us all posted on how it goes, and I'll be excited to watch.
I will. Thank you, Coach Damon.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Take care.
All right, man.